2 to 300%. I'm not exactly sure, but I do some tracking on it. And when this thing comes into frame, we're going to get a really good look at this,
That is amazing.
especially when he zooms up. What?
Now, you know what I do see around it, though, which is interesting, and I've noticed this, and I know many of y'all have probably noticed this when you've screened some of this footage, but you can see like a clear line of where the energy is coming off of this object, right? Now, I know there are some people that don't necessarily believe in UFOs. They have different theories or whatnot. I'm not here to convince anyone. I just find these videos to be pretty incredible. But you can see
Watch it. This
the
point,
energy
we're going to
around
get a really, really good look at
Isn't
this.
that something?
Any thoughts, guys?
I mean, and this is an even better shot. I mean, you can clearly see there's so much energy coming off of this. It is all around the craft. That's crazy. That's nuts. Is this disclosure? Is this what disclosure looks like? I mean, if it's at the end of the day, if these civilizations, if these advanced species are, as advanced as people say they are, ultimately at the end of the day, it's going to be up to them, right, on whether or not we find out about their existence. And Jess, I agree. And again, Earth Files, the YouTube channel Earth Files, ran by Linda Moulton Howe. She actually has some pretty interesting content in which, and I've seen her, on several documentaries over the years or whatnot. These craft apparently, and even as Bob Lazar has talked about all this stuff, but it disturbs gravity. It creates its own gravity, so to speak. It actually creates its own gravity. And there's been talk about some folks that have said they have went inside of these craft, said there was no seat belts. But the way that it has been explained to me is that they wouldn't necessarily need seat belts in a craft like that that's moving faster than you can possibly imagine. You're going to see something pretty incredible here in a minute. But it's like within that craft, they've got their own gravitational bubble, so to speak. And so the law of physics, it gets really, really crazy. And from what I've, heard in research, they say that it doesn't matter if these craft go into the water or if they're within the air of Earth, that they would still be within their own gravitational bubble, so to speak. But this is amazing. And you can see it moving. It's almost, you remember the infinity loop? That's sort of what I see when these craft hovers. They move in an infinity.
The Richest YouTube channel says everything that we're seeing is government technology.
What if this is government technology?
Something to consider. Again, I'm not seeing any kind of gondola underneath or.
What if this is a craft that somehow human beings have managed to create? But if they had, why would they want to keep it secret? Why would they want to keep it secret?
I didn't do no drugs until 03, coming home from prison. 03,
I think that's incredible.
Tooting the powder, then it led to crack cocaine, and I tore up the whole hood.
All right, let me show you this other one. So there is a second clip, and I'm trying to think, where did this one come from? The location. I think he'll mention it in a second, but you all, this is pretty amazing. This shows 4 craft plunging into the ocean right in front of a group of people who were there. And one of the craft was skipping on the water, and you can actually see it skipping on the water, almost like you throw a skip rock. And there's 4 of them that move instantaneously. So there has been talk about beings living not only oceans and with the earth. They say there's all sorts of theories about the earth, the inner core of the earth, but deep within there's also you've heard about the reptilians, right? And listen, I do believe in some of that. I do believe that they do exist, but I also think that there could be a connection to what when Satan was cast down, when 2/3 of the heavens cast down to earth. There were giants in those days, right? Men of old, men of renown. We talked about Gilgamesh, Anunnaki. So don't underestimate Satan's tactics, right? But here, check this out. This is amazing. You're going to see. I'll actually. Look at this craft skipping on the water. It did more come. Now watch. Watch how these orbs boom. Huge light flash. The way it's moving is incredible. Plunges right into the ocean.
¿Sabes qué? Es la nueva arma nuclear de... ¡Ahí hay otro, mira!
Look, here comes another one.
Mira esa madre, y así es nada más.
Plunge. Another. I mean, this is crazy.
Y es que puta lo grabó, coño. Ahí va.
No se ve. Ah, sí, ya se vio.
¡Corre!
Oye, pero se está metiendo al mar.
Ajá, se están metiendo.
No manches, allá hay otro.
Ese está arriba, por arriba, ¿viste?
Sí, se va por
¿De dónde
arriba.
sale el agua? En el agua, velo. ¿Pero de dónde sale?
Can't believe paranormal.
Look at that.
This is
Ahí viene otro, mira.
Okay.
Now I'm going to get a really good close-up look at it. There was a lot of action. We get a really good.
Now, one of the theories that I've heard about the reason these craft
See
are
that?
so
If you see
bright.
that right now, there's something skipping up and down out of the water, leaving a trail of smoke or.
One of the things I've heard is that the bright white light that's associated to these orbs, that they say that happens because this craft produces pure energy, 100% pure energy. And I was actually checking out one of Bob Lazar's discussions on these craft, technical related deep dive type discussion, the way he was explaining how the element was one, hold on, which one? It's element 11 Moscovium 115, right? Yeah, element 115. And Bob Lazar back in the 80s had told the world about Area 51. The world didn't even know that Area 51 was even a place. It hadn't been verified by the United States government, none of that. And he, came in contact with some of these crafts. There are 9 crafts that are stored currently, or back then, I'm sorry, that were back in Area 51 back then. I don't know what what's going on these days, but 9 craft. Imagine human beings getting their hands on one of these. But the way that it was explained in regards to how this element, it's cut in like a triangle shape with ridges. This element has the properties in which it bends light. But they somehow, this all comes down to matter and antimatter, positive, negative, right? Yin and the yang, right? But the way this, I'm going to see if I can actually find it again, because it was pretty incredible to hear the description on how that triangular shape of element 115 was placed in the craft. And basically, they were guiding the matter and the antimatter down like glass tubes inside the craft. Not only does it have properties where it creates a gravitational bubble around the craft, it can move instantaneously. One of the other interesting things I've heard is the cloaking ability too, right? Being able to cloak the craft. That is pretty amazing. And it sort of confirms a lot of talk that's been mentioned over the years about UFOs really liking the water. There's been a lot of incidents of reports near the oceans or on the oceans or whatnot. So hold that thought. I want to see if I can find that special or that description or explanation that Bob Lazar mentioned. Y'all stand by just a sec for me. Was it the missing tapes? There was some recent tapes that had surfaced. Look, I got to go back and look at my history here. Hold on.
They want to say who started the Crips, who did this. Okay, let's forget about who started it. Let's see why it was started, and let's get back to the purpose, to serving the community. Forget who started it. Okay, wow. Okay, he started it, it went haywire. But what was the structure about? Was it about saving the community?
While I'm looking here, I won't leave you guys just hanging here. Give me a sec.
Search for proof of extraterrestrial intelligence has produced disappointing. Lazar claims he was one of them. In this exclusive interview, he gives his detailed account of his employment with the Department of Naval Intelligence at the top-secret facility known as S4, where, according to Bob, he was hired to work on recovered alien spacecraft. S4 is located 125 miles north of Las Vegas and 15 miles south of Groom Lake. This now not-so-secret military base at Groom Lake, Nevada, is known as Area 51, or Dreamland, as insiders like to call it. Born in 1959 in Coral Gables, Florida.
No, actually, I haven't.
I have. I've kicked radios, too. One all the way across the room, put my foot through it. Anyway, so then you seem qualified in most every way, as much as one could be qualified for that. So here you come to S4, and were you immediately led into this area where these craft were?
No, absolutely not. In fact, the first day there, I went in, and I think my first stop was to go to the medical office there. I believe there was a nurse in there. I'm pretty sure that was my first stop, and I had to go through a series of what I was told were allergen tests.
Allergen tests?
Yeah. They took my arm and drew a little graph on it and pricked each little area in my arm with different little needles.
No kidding.
And, in fact, I was not permitted back to work, I think, for 2 weeks until there was a reaction, or if there was to be a reaction, with any of the substances they put on my skin. And they said, you know, we're working with some extremely exotic materials here. that we're not all that familiar with, and we want to know if there's going to be any problem with it. And I said, well, that's, again, odd, but acceptable. And I was also given an injection there, too, which was a, which was a wide spectrum, what did they call it?
Antibiotic?
No, it wasn't a wide spectrum antibiotic. We continued in, and this is...
Yes, that's what Bob...
Ceramic
Sure.
is something absolutely, but to me,
Sure.
it felt and it appeared like metal. We continued in, and this is where I first met the person that I'd be working with, Barry Castillo, or Castile, however you pronounce that. And this is when I first saw the initial components of the craft that had been taken out.
So they had begun to gut this thing then?
Not this particular one. There was more than one there.
How many?
There were actually 9 craft, not all like this, but from what they told me, from what I saw, there were 9 craft, and don't ask me where they came from or how we got them or any of that. I have no idea.